to everyone. Welcome to the lecture number 6 of Parts of Speech. In this lecture, we will cover the definition of the verb along with its remaining types. The first 9 types of a verb was covered in the previous lecture. So, for the understanding of the 9 important types of the verb, please watch the previous video and then come to that lecture. Now, without wasting time, we will define verb along with its remaining types. Now, according to our previous understanding, we know that verb is an action. So, its formal definition is a verb is the action or state of being in a sentence. The most common and the simple example of the verbs are sleep, run, and eat. We know that verb is an action, so these are actions performed by certain subject. Now we move towards the types of verb. The 10th type of the verb is linking verbs. As it is evident from the name of that particular type of a verb that linking verb is something that creates a link. Link between what? Link between a subject and its predicate. Now the definition is a linking verb is a verb that serves as a connecting link or establishes an identity between subject and complement. They do not donate an action. One important thing about linking verb is that they do not donate an action. They only serve as a linking word. For example, the blanket is green. In this example, is only connects the blanket, which is a subject, to the green, which is an adjective or the predicate of the subject, that is blanket. So here its verb or its action is to only the link between is to only the create a link between a subject and its predicate. So here are some tables which shows the different linking verbs. So you can see there are different which starts with a and are as am, appear, or, and with that which start with be are being, been, become, and be. Similarly, there are much more names of the linking verbs which start with different alphabets. This it is only for your understanding, for your memorial understanding. I have categorized them into different alphabetical order for your understanding. Here is also another table which also shows different linking verbs. Now, the next type of verbs are auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are also called the helping verbs and is a verb that adds functional or grammatical meaning to the clause in which it occurs. The important thing about the auxiliary verbs are that they are with some important verb. They are as an assistance with that main verb. For example, I am listening. In this example, listening is the main verb and am is an helping verb which is in that main verb. So am in this sentence is an auxiliary verb which makes the difference between auxiliary verbs and the linking verb is that auxiliary verb are always the helping verbs and occur with some main verb while linking verbs only the verbs in a sentence. They are not working as an assistance with the main verb. So the auxiliary verbs always work in assistance with the main verb. The another example is are you working? Similarly, working is the main verb and are is acting as an assistance and hence is an helping verb or an auxiliary verb. So this type of verb is further divided into two more types and these are modal verbs and primary auxiliary verbs. So there are three primary auxiliary verbs and these are be, have and do. The 10 common modal auxiliary verbs are can, could, will, would, shall, should, may, might, must and ought. So the modal verbs are most frequently used in our conversation and writing. So keep remember that they are included in auxiliary verbs. So the auxiliary verbs help other verbs by adding tense, mode, voice or modality. The next type of a verb is a reflexive verb. So, as it is evident from their name that they reflect something. Now, move toward definition. A reflexive verb is a transitive verb, as we have described earlier. That what are transitive verb? For that, please watch my previous video. Here, I will explain it again. The transitive verb are the verbs that have an object for their explanation. So, a reflexive verb is a transitive verb whose subject and object always refer to the same person or thing. So the object is always a reflexive pronoun. The reflexive pronoun was also described in the previous video. So the word self is always used in that type of where these reflexive verbs are used. So reflexive pronoun always use the word self. Now we will move towards the definition for your proper example for your proper understanding. The examples are: did you enjoy yourself? Here you can see that reflexive pronoun yourself is used. So enjoy is an reflexive verb because subject and object are the same person. In the second example, she eat it by herself. In this example, we can see that subject and object are the same, hence eat is an reflexive verb. Now move toward the next type of verb, ergative verbs. Although these verbs are rarely used in our everyday writings, but we can see it. A ergative verb is a verb that can be both transitive and intransitive, where the subject of intransitive verb is the same as the object of the transitive verb. So the transitive verb are those that have an object that follows a direct object, but the intransitive do not need any object for their explanation. Now move toward the example. For example, open is an ergative verb because we can say that the door opened. In this sentence, opened is an intransitive verb because there is no object, while in the second sentence, she opened the door. In this example, opened is a transitive verb because it is followed by an object. So, the opened in these two sentences is an ergative verb because it can act as an transitive and as an intransitive verb. It can play both the roles. Now we will move toward the second definition, and that is the bullet shoot or she shoot the bullet. In this example, shoot act both as a transitive verb and intransitive verb, so it is an ergative verb. Now the next type is phrasal verb. As the name suggests, those verbs that are in phrasal form means the verb along with some phrase, either with some preposition, participle, or an article. A phrase that combines a verb with a preposition or adverb or both, and that functions as a verb whose meaning is different from the combined meaning of the individual words. Now we can see the definition that there are some phrasal verbs: run away, look after, passed away. Although run is also a verb, but when it occurs with away, it will become a phrasal verb. It will become a phrasal verb. There are different four types of phrasal verb, and these are transitive phrasal verb, intransitive phrasal verb, separatable phrasal verb, and inseparable phrasal verbs. We have looked before that what are transitive verb and intransitive verb, but now we will look at what are transitive phrasal verb and intransitive phrasal verb. But there is not much more difference between them and are easy to understand. Let what are the transitive phrasal verbs? Like transitive verb, this transitive phrasal verb requires an object in a sentence. For example, you can switch on the lights of the kitchen while cooking. So in this sentence, the kitchen is an object which shows that the verb being used is a transitive phrasal verb and that is switch on. In the second example, Mayank is trying hard to give up on smoking. So smoking is an object and the phrasal verb being used is give up and hence because of the presence of an object it is transitive phrasal verb. The next is its opposite and it is the intransitive phrasal verb because there is no need of an object in the sentence. For example, these kids are growing up, and here we can see that full message is being conveyed without the presence of an object. Like the kids are grown up, the vehicle is just broken down. In these two sentences, growing up and broken down are intransitive phrasal verbs. The next is separatable phrasal verbs. It means that these phrases can be broken down in the same sentence. For example, you can switch off the lights, and we can also say that you can switch the lights off. It means that these phrasal verbs can be separated in the same sentence. The second example is the avid customers requested to cut down the prices of the products. It can also be in that form that the avid customers requested to cut the prices down of the products. So the last type of phrasal verb is non-separable phrasal verbs. In these non-separable phrasal verbs are those verbs that cannot be separated for using it in different places in the given sentence. These are cannot be separated from each other. For example, the strong hailstorm brought about a huge unexpected disaster. In these example, but about cannot be separated from each other, so they are inseparable phrasal verbs. In the second example, it is always said that you should stay away from bad company. So the stay away is a phrasal verb and is inseparable. These two words cannot be separated from each other and hence fall in the category of inseparable phrasal verbs. Now, the next type of verb is lexical verb. All the types of verb fall into that lexical verbs except the auxiliary verbs because they cannot make their meaning alone. All other types are included in lexical verb, either they are transitive, intransitive, linking, dynamic, or static. So the all the types was covered before except the dynamic and static. Now we move toward these two types. Then what are dynamic verbs? Dynamic verbs are the most general verb that are used everywhere, every day frequently, and are that simply describe the action. For example, run, jump, work, play, eat, or drink. These all are dynamic verbs which are commonly used and the other is the stative verbs. And they are considered to be stative because they express a state or condition rather than an action. For example, to think, to like, to believe, these all are stative verbs. For example, I like mango. I believe he is true. In these two sentences, like and believe are our stative verbs. Now, the last type of verb is the lexical verbs. As we know that lexical mean words that give their meaning, and delexical are those that does not give their meaning when they are alone. So, same is the case with the dialexical verbs. Dialexical verbs are common verbs such as have, take, make, or give, which, when used with particular nouns, have very little meaning of their own. In these dialectical structure, Most of the meaning is found in the noun, not in the verb. For example, I took a shower. Sana have chocolates. In these two sentences, took and have, when used alone, have very less meaning. So when they are used in the sentence with the subject or with the other words, they give their meaning. So now we reached at the end of all the types of verb. I have covered all the minor types. If I have missed anything or you have any query, please ask in the comment section. And now it's your turn. Your assignment is to learn all the types of the verb and if possible the all the types of a noun and pronoun which were covered in the previous lecture and then comment them or write them on your notebook and so that you can move along the lectures and for you can understand all the grammatical portion of the English language and at the end of the series you will be efficient to use frequently English grammar in your writings. So if you have liked my lecture and enjoyed them, please subscribe and like my channel so that you have a possibility to learn much more. Thanks for watching.